to EVkiBaat, where we talk about everything related to electric vehicles. Today, we are here to discuss the various challenges faced by the Indian electric vehicle industry and how we are working to eliminate and to an extent overcome them. And to throw more light on that, we have here with us at the EVkiBaat studio, Abhijeet from Mobility Outlook. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Neelanjan. So you know what we do, right? We're part of the Cartridge Tech family. We got Carvale by Mobility Outlook. So Mobility Outlook is the B2B wing. So I was kind of confused when you invited me to speak on the topic because, as I told you, when it comes to challenges, we are all working together, working to fix them. And so long as we stay on that path, we will find a solution. But more or less, to wrap it up in one go, yes, we're there. You see EV numbers rising, and I'm happy. I'm happy to talk about it more.
Definitely. If you look at how the trend of electric vehicle sales has been over this calendar year, we have seen over a 300% increase in volumes. And going back 5 years down the line, I believe the numbers were nowhere. And today, it's a completely different ball game. It's like how the Brazilian football team was, scoring goals everywhere, going to the top of the world.
Yes.
Indian EV industry is also doing that. We are no longer a trend follower.
Yeah.
India is becoming a trend setter. But however, yes, we have faced a lot of challenges. The country has faced a lot of challenges. The whole electric vehicle industry across the world has been facing a lot of challenges. But yeah, let's discuss how we are going to overcome them.
Yeah, but I like the way you say that we have been a trendsetter. That's a good analogy to use for India. As in the EV ecosystem, at least, we've been at par with the rest of the world when it comes to making low cost solutions for everybody. And I believe your company has been a major part of it.
So if you mentioned about growth, what has been the growth so far this calendar year?
Yeah, then it has been explosive. Let's just say that recent numbers show what a 300% increase in overall EV sales.
That's great.
That has been very good. The number is rising. Volumes are rising. What worries us, again, then we are talking about challenges, is, the dealership network, the sales network, and can we support those people who've already bought these vehicles? That has been always the biggest problem with EVs because most of it has been startup related. There have been new startups who have propped up, they've made great products, fantastic products. But then they still don't have the reach what OEMs already had when it comes to ICE. Right. So this has been always a concern. Then again, challenges. There are a lot of challenges which are being covered. However, the outlook has been strong because of government support. The government really wants to push on this. So you've got so many policies running for this. FAME 2 has been
it
has been very good for these companies. But then there were problems as well. It's not there with the policies as well because they were not clearly marked. There are some roadblocks there as well.
But then again, something which has always been a problem in India.
But then again, it has, it's all being evened out. Like MHI has been very strong on this. The CGS policy, the PLI scheme, and even FAME 2. FAME 2 will subsequently change to FAME 3. They'll have more to give on the manufacturing side, I believe. So it's improving. I would say, you're looking at something which is going to explode even quicker. 300% looks like a small number to me now. 2024, 2025, this is going to explode like hell.
Where do you think this is going to go somewhere point of time, say in 2020, 2030, 2032?
What are you talking about?
Volumes.
See, they are rising, but they're still not there. We are expecting these numbers to change into complete EV favor post 35, let's say. Let's put an optimistic number on it.
Yeah, possible, because at the end of the day, crude is a limited commodity.
It is, of course.
And at some point of time, it will go out.
It is polluting. So, come on. We're looking at changing that.
Yeah. Since you mentioned pollution, majority of the pollution outside in Delhi right now, oh my God, such a big.
I know.
Has been because of vehicles.
Yeah, of course.
How do you think commercial vehicles have played a role in that?
Again, the ones which we believe are polluting are the old vehicles, which are, the BS2, the BS3 rated diesel engines, big diesel engines. They've got more particulates, so they're more polluting. But then when you look at petrol engines have been fairly clean. Like post BS4, they have been clean. Again, I think Delhi has that policy of the graded policy of banning BS3 petrols and diesels, which I don't know.
No, it has its own quirks.
I don't
That
know
policy
if
has
it's
its own
going to help
quirks.
so much right now, because again, last year, if you remember when we did this was the idea of stopping industries and construction. Then the AQI came down. So I don't know if vehicles are adding so much to this, but of course, this is going to only push EVs into the picture because EVs.
No, one thing which I would like to point out here is that during the lockdown of the pandemic, the 2020 timeline, everything was shut down initially for sometime between March and May, I believe.
Yeah.
So during that time, the streets of Delhi were clean. There was barely any pollution.
Yeah, because you stopped everything. You know, like
Exactly.
construction in
No
industry
construction,
and everything was
no
stopped.
vehicles, nothing. So, say for example, at some point of time in the future, we move on to an entirely electric transportation system, and there is zero tailpipe emission. Cities in India can have less pollution.
Yes.
We will no longer be in the top 5 or say the top 10 most polluted cities in the world. Of course, industries will continue to be there. Maybe they'll continue to produce more, if not less, but that's another tale. However, if we are able to shift to more sustainable solution of that,
Of course.
geothermal, solar, wind, possibly even to an extent nuclear, of course, that also has its flaws. However, if we are able to manage to have clean source of power, we can have a clean, green, and brighter future.
This is inevitable. I mean, you would question it that if we can. It's not an if. It is going to happen.
It's about when.
It is when. Everything has to shift to EVs. I have been quite a supporter of hydrogen fuel cells. The only thing is they're too complex to build, and it's going to take some time.
No, also
for them
most
to-
of the hydrogen in the world right now is produced from hydrocarbons. That is
Yes,
again
yeah.
another problem,
You know,
of course.
yeah,
But
the-
we
the
do
grey,
have
grey.
players. We do have players right now who are working to build the world's largest green hydrogen setup in
Hmm.
India. We do have companies, startups, as well as large-scale industrialists who are working on that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, in the future, we will have more players bringing in solutions for
Again,
that.
I'll pitch the government on this. The government has a very solid, sound hydrogen policy, and this is
Mhm.
going to help them as well.
Definitely.
The only point is when. The question always arises when.
Definitely.
But we're getting there.
Yes. But what do you think has been the major challenge that electric vehicles have faced in India?
Range anxiety. Any day. From the day one Reva came into the picture, if you remember, range anxiety has always been the problem.
Oh,
And
I
then
remember
again-
my friend had a Reva.
Ah.
He still has it. And I grew up in Dehradun. And we used to drive that Reva from Ballupur. There's a place in Dehradun. I believe you would know that.
Yep.
From there to halfway to Mussoorie.
Halfway.
Yeah. And then we didn't come back. This was the first day.
This is what I'm talking about.
that
range
was
anxiety.
that was a major problem that we faced.
And how did you charge it? If you lose battery in the middle,
we had to tow it?
yeah,
And getting this was ancient history, and getting a towing truck back then was next to impossible. We didn't have cell phones back then. It was a major problem. But yeah, how do you think we can overcome that?
Oh.
Charging infra?
charging infra, yes, but again, products have improved. The ranges have improved. Your Reva couldn't do much because, it was initial days. But
Hmm.
I will give Chetan Mayani due credit of carrying that vehicle here. It was completely, excellent. And the E2O, if you remember, the second iteration of it was way
Much
better.
better.
Much better as a vehicle. However, charging infrastructure, yes, this is one thing which will help us overcome that range anxiety. We used to think it was plug-in hybrids. I still think plug-in hybrids can be a sort of, paragel. No, it's going to give you that knowledge, that information, and that responsibility that you need to charge a vehicle as well. Yes, you can fuel it, but it's going to give you limited range. Yes, there is a battery, that's going to give you limited range. But adding both these together, it'll be a habit of you going to a charging station, plugging in and charging. So I think plug-in hybrids are a great option, but again, they're expensive. So when you see Marutis and, with and Toyotas getting into these strong hybrids, I think there is a case because these are cheaper hybrids. Let's not go to the actual hybrids which are expensive. I'm not talking about Prius. Prius is an expensive proposition. You can't sell it in India because it never did. But then again, when Maruti comes into the picture, brings it, seeps it down to smaller cars, I think that'll be
of course
that'll
they
be
have
good
the
as well.
volumes also working towards.
Yeah, of course. It's Maruti. So they've got better reach. Again, I told you the sales network, the service network is stronger. This is what I want to see for EV players. This is where EVs need to, scale up. But I will not blame them. It's again the charging infrastructure. We have 900 something charges, public charges India-wide, and we were
600
calculating
of these
600
ACs.
in
That
Delhi.
itself, and
So
around
in
one in
the
Delhi.
densest. That's why everybody wants
It's a major problem.
CVs
It's a
working
major-
in NCR. But I think it's the charging network. It's expanding. I will not deny it. more players are coming into the picture, but it'll scale up. It has to scale up.
Definitely. And what else do you think OEMs can do? I will tell you about what we have done. In terms of giving options to charging, we have offered most of our products with easy home charging.
Right.
In this, you can just plug in your EV at any 16 amp socket at home, and you can just charge your vehicle in like 4 hours or so, less than that probably. And you're good to go in just 4 hours, and you don't have to go to any charging station, wait in a queue. You can just do it at home.
So you're talking about fleet owners,
as well as individual entrepreneurs who use it. They can run it in the day and in the night go back home, put it on charge, run. So
does this increase their, reduce their downtime? Can they do two trips a day?
Definitely they can. The maximum range that we have for our EV right now, the OSM Range Plus, is 120 kilometers on a single charge. That's a lot for most Indian cities.
Right.
Of course, the gambit slightly changes in metro cities where the distance covered is more.
Okay.
And that's where we have different options. We have fast charging options and we have swappable battery solutions.
I already wanted to question you about swappable batteries. Do you think they're better than having a quicker charger? Is that?
So it entirely depends on the customer. If the customer wants something, I'll give you an average scenario of our fast charging customer. What they do is they leave their hub in the morning. These swappable as well as fast charging options are utilized mostly by fleet operators. What they do is in the morning, they leave their hub with the goods for deliveries. Say, for example, if they're an e-commerce player, they'll leave in the morning, early morning, 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, leave for deliveries, do some deliveries, say somewhere around 12 o'clock. The driver goes back for lunch. He stops at a hub again. He puts his vehicle on charge. 45 minutes, the vehicle fully charges again, and he moves out.
Okay.
Swappable is also a part of this in ideology. However, it's slightly more advanced. The driver does not believe in waiting. What these companies do is they change the driver as well. A Le Mans racetrack. They change the driver, they change the battery, swap the battery, put in a new driver, put in a fresh battery setup, move on. 5 minutes.
Again, this is a bigger inventory of batteries. You need to keep a larger inventory of batteries.
That's where the game changes. So when you saw ICs coming up, none of the OEMs actually set up the petrol stations. You had various other players coming in to set up the stations. In India, you had PSUs. Globally, you had private corporations doing that. So for this also, this is another business case scenario where companies can make a lot of money by setting up their own charging infrastructure. Of course, there is a whole conversation which comes about standardization of charging.
Yes.
However, if that is achieved, we can have players bringing in charging solutions for all OEMs and every user. At the end of the day, it's all about helping the users.
This is again a big challenge because although I think the BCA is working towards it, and I think Shadmo has recently joined, BCA for standardizing at least two-wheeler charging. Two-wheeler, three-wheeler charging is something which can be done quicker, and we can standardize them. So they are working towards it. But again, I was having a discussion with Deepak Jain from PhD, and he was like, it's going to take some time, but they're getting there. They need to standardize this to make it easier. We're getting there.
We have also the DC001 charging standard that has been instrumental in three-wheelers at least. Almost all our fast charging setup is on DC001 right now. And it's very easy for us to, stop at a public charging center, plug in the EV, charge up and go on. But very little downtime.
Is there some problems with DC? Because they say that DC charging, something like you charge it once, twice, and then thrice, try and do any AC charging on the batteries.
We have not faced that problem yet. We have not faced it.
Because I've heard about these issues, but again, you would know better because you have got the problem.
So our batteries, the DC001 compatible fast charging battery is manufactured here in India. It is right now, even the company has worked with us, and we have moved on into cell manufacturing itself in India. So we have Log9 as a partner for this, and they are making the cell itself in India. And the cell sorting as well as the cell maintenance, the entire gambit is very focused towards having an even distribution. So a lot of problem in what you're mentioning is that depletion of different cells has worked in a different percentage, where what happens is the BMS is no longer able to, communicate with the parties, say the CAN and the battery and the motor perfectly. And that is where the problem has come. And that is something which we have worked on to eliminate.
So this brings us to another problem of Make in India. We've always had this issue of what is the localization content in your products, and what most of us have achieved 90% at least, but then sales is a problem. Sales.
So we are working towards that. So the solution with Log9 has been the first step. The next step for us is making our own batteries. We are working with a partner from the United States, wherein we are going to manufacture the cells as well as the entire battery here in India.
What about the raw material? Okay.
For now, of course, we are going to have to bring it in. However, definitely, if the proposed lithium mining sites in various parts of the country, talked about in the last few months, enters into commercial production, we will definitely try to get it.
That is another problem as well.
I understand.
Because what I believe is they found some in Jammu and they're trying to auction it, yes, but they had already found a few lithium reserves in Rajasthan earlier,
Yes,
but they could not auction it.
The problem with lithium mining is that only a particular grade of lithium can be used for making batteries. I'm not sure whether the Rajasthan one was of that grade.
It was. But then again, they said that FMCG manufacturers, laptops, consumer goods, they were more interested in those because they've got a huge number to sell. They were,
Definitely, bigger. Because even I think this was quite some time back, and the EV industry in India was still at a very nascent stage, back to where the original vehicle that you were talking about, and the usage of lithium was still very limited. I believe my calculator had a lithium battery.
Yes,
but not the vehicles. So I think that's slowly changing. Hopefully, by the time when Jammu starts commercial production, we will have access to that.
Again, it's about auctioning. I think January is the date. Is the time when they're auctioning all that lithium reserve.
If all goes well.
If all goes well. Well, as I told you, government is putting the full throttle on this. So
we have PLI schemes, we have CGS, we have a host of other policies which are helping us.
Yeah.
Hopefully the sky is the limit. And today we're not just making in India, we're just making in India for the world. Right. India right now has the golden opportunity to build something for the world.
Yes, of course. The only thing that worries me, to be honest, will be education. It's the education to the general consumer. In the passenger segment, people who are buying EVs are still smarter. In the commercial segment, and I'm not talking about just fleet operators, because the modern ones who are working out of bigger cities understand this. However, when you go down, when you say individual owners and going down to tier 2 and tier 3 cities, this is one problem where you have to go educate them the benefits of buying, let's say, a slightly more expensive product, but then the charging costs are like nothing almost. It's quite cheap charging at home. And DC chargers, I would say, they won't cost much either. I don't know the pricing. If you could help me with the pricing of this.
So an average DC charger ranges somewhere around 1.8 to 2,20,000.
But what will it cost to charge?
To charge, it's very easy. It's somewhere around 45 to 50 rupees.
Okay, for a full charge.
For our 3-wheelers, yes. That's almost nothing. So if you look at the numbers for IC 3-wheelers versus the EV 3-wheelers that we have, our running cost is less than a rupee.
Of course.
And for an IC, it is somewhere around 4 to 5 rupees for a CNG and 9 to 10 rupees for a diesel, which of course is obsolete in India right
Diesel's
now. But yeah, CNG has always been a major problem. We consider CNG as clean. However, the nitrous oxide emissions is way higher than even a diesel. That is something we completely ignored during the policy change. But we're slowly realizing that. We're making better steps now. We are going into EVs. If you look at the recent mandate by the Delhi government, we are moving towards an EV future only. So we spoke about localization. How do you think that has been evolving in the last few years, especially in the last 2 years?
But completely. From importing completely built up units to CKDs to now almost 90% localization. All that you need are cells imported from outside. I think that's it. And the rest of it, we can do it ourselves. Every Indian manufacturer is working towards localization, maximizing it to whatever extent they can. The only one that I am personally waiting for will be Maruti, because that will be, again, a mass market product. But again, it's a passenger vehicle scenario, so I won't mention you much. But when it comes to 3-wheelers, most of them have been working towards localization. Of course, because if the value proposition that has to go with a 3-wheeler, it has to be cheap as well. It has to go sell to a very low-cost budget player. So they have to make sure that it's made in India, sourced from local parts, no import duties added to it. And if you want FAME subsidies, you'll have to make it in India. That is a very important gambit, because I believe a few players have faced this issue when they tried to cheat the government on this, but again, you can't fight the law. They will catch you. So what I think is they're working very hard, and I would draw attention towards even very small players like if you heard of Top Motors, their motorcycles. I was there, at their facility recently. They started from racing on Isle of Man, developing a product, and then understanding that they need a product for the Indian domestic market. So how they worked on creating that product for the commuting segment, a power commuting motorcycle, the range has to be good, the handling has to be good. It should feel like, you're riding a motorcycle. This has worked very, big wonders because they have to make it in India. The motor has to be developed by them. They have to source batteries. They don't even source batteries. I think they just source cells now. They make their own battery packs. So the entire drive comes from the fact that they have to make something for their own country, and then maybe start exporting. The idea is, again, become a leader, across the world. Okay, there is China. We understand lithium is a problem. Cells are a problem because China has that know-how. They had that early start. But they've had issues as well. They faced problems as well. China has faced a lot of problems with
You
creating
look
low
at how
cost.
the bit of international trade is moving away
Yeah.
from China.
Of course it is.
Do you think India has a chance to become
Of
the
course
next
it
China?
has. It has. So yeah. There was a recent discussion with Argentina. I think Argentina has a lot of reserves. They've got I think cobalt. They've got lithium as well to some extent. But more importantly, they have copper. And apparently the rate of copper being used for high quality batteries, that is increasing, and motors. So yeah, I think we might have a deal.
Exponentially.
Yeah, we might have a deal with Argentina to source raw material directly. What we need is Indian manufacturers, Indian battery and cell manufacturers to work on this quickly. I mean, they will be aided by the government, I'm pretty sure, but this has to pick up pace. You need to really pick up that pace because I think we're really slow on this. That battery and cell manufacturing, it has to start right now.
But where do you think has been the problem? Has there been less amount of R&D going towards it, or even our education system has been completely going on the
Yeah, I was about to say there is a skilling problem that India still faces. So that skilling is improving again. Since when we had cars with more mechanical parts in it, we needed more mechanical engineers. When we understood that hydraulics and electrical content has to increase in it, we had more electrical engineers. Now though, we require electronics engineers more. So then, education cycle has to change and shift attention towards electronics engineers and IT engineers who need to program PMSs. So that is changing as well. See, again, it's a group effort. Everybody has to work towards building an entire EV. Like EVs are not small. People like, let's just say, how earlier we were talking about motorsport into this picture. That motorsport might help develop them as well. And India doesn't have a lot of motorsport going on. But then again, players like JK are working towards. They've got students manufacture EVs and then release them out. I was recently, on this, I think, JK Imperial thing. So the kart racing, it was very interesting to watch internal combustion engines and electric engines at the same grid.
Oh,
It was on the same grid and they had to race,
how was the difference like in acceleration times?
It wasn't much. They're at par. They're that good and they ran the entire cycle. Some of them didn't, but then some of the ice didn't even start. So let's just say out of the 20, 2 ice fail and 2 EVs fail. I call this a win-win for
great number.
EVs. EVs were, a few of them were able to complete the entire cycle, and that's a big track. Okay, half of it, but it's quite a big track. But then you see these engineers working towards EVs now. It's not just about internal combustion anymore.
No, of course, we had Formula 1, now we have Formula E. And we just recently had the first ever Formula E race in India last year in Hyderabad, and we're going to have it soon next year in February.
Yes, it's going to come back.
Are you excited for that?
I am excited, but I am also, as I told you, I'm also a skeptic. I will not, agree to the fact that I'm completely for EVs because I'm still nostalgic about petrol engines. Let's not.
We just had Formula E here in India.
Yeah.
And Hyderabad was a wonderful venue. Hopefully, in fact, it has just been confirmed that Hyderabad will be hosting it again next year in February. Where do you think is the problem lying? Like,
why aren't people not more excited about EVs now? Then I can tell them, no, they should be.
You said you like E more.
No, forget that bit now.
Leave it. Formula 1.
तू बस Formula EVkiBaat कर. I'll continue with Formula E.
तू बंद करेगी या नहीं करेगी? Okay, so we just had recently the first ever Formula E race here in Hyderabad last year, and we are going to see another iteration of it in next year. uh,
February.
February. Yes. What challenges do you think are going to be faced by this?
I don't understand why is there a challenge. Because if you consider a Formula One car versus a Formula E vehicle, let's just compare them both. You know by personal experience that the power development takes time, in a Formula One, in a petrol combustion engine, than a Formula E. So the electric motors are immediate and they're going to be acceleration
470
monsters.
horses.
So what, 800 kilos somewhere? The power to weight ratio is going to be explosive. Then they're more stable as well, I think, because I don't know about the stability bit because again, active aero on Formula Ones works wonders. But again, the torque is immediate. I mean, the only thing I think manufacturers should be doing more is Formula One or Formula E, sorry, and more electric racing into this, put more into the picture.
Well,
But
even
India
Formula
too
One
is behind.
even Formula One has been moving towards that. It also realizes that it's talking about net zero right now in the future,
Yeah.
but
I would
yes, it was
I would
it was one of the first to accept hybridization.
of course.
How do you think that changed for Formula
See,
One?
when we were being nostalgic about this, considering V12s are gone and then V10s are gone and then V8s are gone, we were confused that this is going to, somehow ruin that excitement. It didn't.
Yeah, because overtaking became fun.
Yeah, it became even scarier because you had electric support, that boost of torque came from electric motors. So it just became more interesting. So I think it's going to work wonders for Formula E. What they need to do is, I think, publicize
A
it
bit
better.
more of
probably.
brand marketing, and it can become.
And I don't know. Okay, I understand the street circuit aspect of it, but why not do it on BIC? Let's just go full scale with it. I mean, there's a gap left by Formula One. Let's just fill it with Formula E, and let's just have more Indian drivers into the picture. I would
Yeah, that
love
would be
to
great.
see
That
that
will be great.
because I think Mahindra, JK, everybody has a lot of players.
Jehan is moving there next year, right?
Yeah, he's going to be fun to watch. Yeah,
That's
more excited
gonna be
about
fun
him.
for Maserati. That'll be good fun, definitely.
It's going to be fun.
Okay, so bringing this discussion to a close, let me quickly go through what we talked about. We talked about safety, we talked about Make in India, we talked about eliminating range anxiety, and how India has been moving ahead and bringing Indian manufacturing in front of the world. We have limitations, we have a lot of red tapeism which we have to overcome. However, the change has begun.
It's ongoing.
Yes, still ongoing. How do you, just to conclude, the last statement from you, 2030, where do you see us being there?
We see ourselves, okay, one of the problems will be user education, which I think has to increase more. People in metropolitans understand this. Okay, so the range anxiety aspect of it is being solved. There are more charges into the picture, but then vehicles also have larger ranges now to cover. I mean, they can go longer distances on full charges. So what we want is, as Mr. Nitin Gadkari said, if you remember, electrifying the entire highway.
Mhm.
This is going to be one of the biggest challenges, but then also one of the biggest opportunities. Gadkari has been very clear on this. He's going to give you the space. Okay, all you have to show is that, that drive to electrify this entire place. Just put in your chargers. Just pick the best highways you can near you. Start electrifying them, and then you can see more people driving out with their electric vehicles. Because as I told you, OEMs are there. Their products are good enough, and so are our little L5 category people. They're all there. Their vehicles are like 100 kilometers on a full charge. Not a small number. I mean, for a big city, covers everything. And you're saying twice. If a person can do that twice, charging once, and then doing his job again, he's earning more money. He's happier. So we can extend this. This can be extended to our highways as well. Be it passenger vehicles, be it commercial vehicles. What I want is bigger commercial vehicles to get into the picture as well, because that is what might solve the problems of Delhi you mentioned earlier even more. Because then again, big diesels. We need to get rid of big diesels, right? So of course people are working towards it. I just wanted to fast track a bit. Let's do it more quickly. Then another support I think we need is towards our two-wheelers. Although we're making good numbers with two-wheelers, however, electric two-wheelers are still not making those numbers which were expected of the government. Because I think last year the report was out that all the states have fallen behind on those numbers, electrifying their two-wheeler sales. So I think that number has to come up. We're all there to support. Of course, we being a media outlet are always out for electrics, this. And we've been rooting for you as well for your products because, it's one of the nicest and most accomplished. Yeah.
Two-wheelers coming up.
Yes, of course, that again. So two-wheelers is one thing where we want you all to push more. And it'll be great fun to watch. Overall, I think it's a very green picture. Let's just focus on it and just, run with it. It's just like not lose that hope in the middle
Absolutely.
and keep running with it. And
Future is
for a greener, cleaner future, at least we can breathe in clean air, man. Has been a problem.
Absolutely. With that, we come to the end of another edition of EVkiBaat. Thank you for tuning in. See you next time.